Hey, you, come, gather around the campfire, and welcome to the party. This is Party Chat, a JRPG podcast where we talk about everything that we love in the world of JRPGs and other Eastern titles. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Hawkins, and with me, as always, is my party partner, Kevin Kenson. Kevin, how you doing today?
I am sore and tired. I uh I've made the decision to start I've started lifting weights again, which it's been a minute. I don't even want to say how long it's been. Uh
Mm.
and so I did the very dumb thing of being like, you know what, I'm just gonna break everything in all at once. Let's just do a bit of everything on one day. I'm just gonna get the main because like you're always gonna be a little sore after working out, but like the first time getting back in is always the worst because you just haven't been doing shit. And
Yeah,
yeah, so now every motion I make, I just feel okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. So I think this is my last actual like bad day of soreness, and then keep breaking everything back in basically. So it's the right move. I'm just feeling the unfun parts of it right now.
I, yeah, I'm in a similar vein as you. Like I really need to work out. I really need to get into better shape. But I also know that I need a trainer. Like I've tried to go to the gym on my own volition and get shit done. And I just like don't know what to do while I'm there. I don't know, like I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I also like need that like I need that support. I need someone to be like, hey, we got to go to the gym this day. Like
Yeah.
and so like if I had someone like that,
Yeah, I
I
actually
think that would be much better.
no, 100%. Like I'm even trying right now. Like I'm kind of just like getting myself back in the groove right now and doing some stuff with some dumbbells that I have around that are like just,
Hmm.
lower weight. But I'm doing that so I can start going to my local gym again and like I got to hit up people I know in the area and just see like, hey, who just wants to get in shape with me and who's got the time? Like cuz having a like a partner, a buddy, whatever, like makes it so much easier. You keep each other accountable. It like the big thing honestly is like going back and forth in exercises where it's like, okay, do my reps, and then instead of just standing there losing track of time while you rest between, oh, this guy's about to finish his set, I have to do my next set like immediately, and it keeps you way more on task to like be with someone. And so yeah, I gotta hit some people up because I also like I'm getting that drive right now to do the opening push, but I know my brain, and I
Yeah.
got I gotta give myself every redundancy to make sure I don't slip back.
No, that's totally fair. It's funny that you brought up fitness because like I was like, what do I want to start the podcast with this week? Because that's kind of just been a thing of the past like I don't know five to six episodes where I'll just bring a random topic to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about.
5-10 minutes of shooting the shit. Yeah, like
Yeah,
we're getting our
exact
voices warmed up. We're chilling.
exactly. Do you think Ring Fit Adventure is a JRPG?
Interesting. So this gets into how we define RPGs in general, right? Because like it has stats and like
Yeah,
it has like
turn-based combat.
turn-based combat where you like have to do like yeah, it's a very specific subsect, but I wouldn't be mad calling it that. Sure.
Now, is it a top 25 JRPG?
Well, it's no Ni no Kuni, so
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, because I saw a friend of mine, Stella, she was streaming it, and I was just like, man, Ring Fit Adventure is such a good game. It's
oh yeah.
such a good game. And I really would love if they did a second one. Like they're not going to, but man, it would be cool if they did. And I did try to use Ring Fit Adventure to work out for a while, and even that like couldn't keep me like consistent. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's really tough to like, at least for me, to get that routine going and like stick to it, and it's tough.
Oh, absolutely. Like the hardest thing is starting. If you can get
Yeah,
if you can stay regular for like a month, it's so much easier to keep it going at that point because you're just in it now. You have the routine. But the first, even just the first 2 weeks is like you got to get
it's
over
hell.
feeling bad about the soreness. You got to just tell yourself, no, just go do it. Just get up and do it. It's only going to take you
Yeah.
this long. Just do it. Just do it. There's nothing but good reasons to do this thing. Just do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll see. We'll see down the line, though. I really want to do it. I really want to do it. I've been trying to do like other things to like lose weight because that's like my main thing is like I want to lose weight. Like
Sure.
I'm okay. Like I'm 6'4". Like I'm a good build size. Like I'm not like someone that's trying to pack on like a whole bunch of muscle, per se. Like I'm more so just trying to get leaner. Um, and so like there are definitely points where like I tried to like kick off soda, which I think the best I've done was like 2 weeks, and then I like
And
I caved.
honestly, dude,
But
that's always going to be the bigger part. Like you can work out all you
yeah,
want, but if
yeah,
you're trying to like trim down the
yeah.
belly and stuff, you gotta cut. You can't be drinking
I
calories. You
know,
can't be having
I
sugar.
know.
Like that's honestly the
Yeah,
bigger part. Like you can work out all you want, but that belly's going to stay.
I know, and like that's the thing because Dr. Pepper is so good. I like for those that don't know, I am like that stereotypical Dr. Pepper guy. Like Dr. Pepper is the nectar from the gods, like the closest thing to the fountain of youth in the sense of like what you would want the fountain of youth to taste like. I love Dr. Pepper. And but I really need to cut it off. I really need to cut it off. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to do it, but at some point I'll get there. Um, but for now, we're gonna get into the housekeeping for the week. We have a preview of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake up on YouTube and podcast services right now. We both played it, so you got both of our perspectives, and so we got a really great conversation. I actually like ran that one back a couple of days ago, and I was like, "Damn, that was a really good conversation." Like, I'm happy. You know, the rare like I'm proud
I'm
of this
proud of
one.
us. You know, like we
Yeah,
did good.
yeah, exactly. So that's up there, and then Kevin has played Ride Out Remastered. We have a preview discussion about that as well up on YouTube and podcast services if you want to check that out. If you've been enjoying the show and you'd like to help support us, please go to our YouTube channel, Party Chat: JRPG Podcast. Even if you don't listen to the video version, like just giving us a subscribe over there, just hitting the subscribe button takes 2 seconds. It would really appreciate. We'd really appreciate it. It would really like help us out. Um, and then also, if you want to go to our podcast platforms of your choice and give us 5 stars, it helps get our name out there. It helps us grow. We really appreciate that as well. If you want to give us a little bit more love, we do have a Patreon where you can pay for different tiers that give different rewards, like getting the Discord, getting to the our exclusive Discord, getting our monthly Q&A episode, and then we have our Campfire Catalog, which is like our book club where we talk about a specific game for 3+ hours. Our first one was on Chrono Trigger, and this one is going to be on The Legend of Dragoon. So at some point, at some point this year. And then lastly, go to youtube.com/Kevin Kenson and hit the subscribe button over there as we try to get Kevin to 1 million subscribers before the end of 2025. Kevin.
I just saw you reboot for a moment there. Just like wait.
Yep. Yeah, no. I am running on like 5 hours of sleep, y'all. I've had a very busy life schedule, like pretty much consistently since the beginning of this month, and so I don't get a lot of sleep, don't have a lot of time to play games, but I'm here, baby.
Hell yeah.
Um so yeah, Kevin, we're getting more very like confirmation without confirmation from Atlas about Persona 4
Oh, and
remake.
this is even from Atlas. This is some wild news this morning, honestly.
Oh, I know. I'm saying like it's close to confirmation without it being confirmation from Atlas.
Yeah. So for the people, like, this is basically breaking like 2 hours before we were recording this morning. For those that may not pay attention to these things, Yuri Lowenthal, the voice actor who has done lots of major roles, including Yosuke from Persona 4, basically just put out. Have we have to determine an official word for these? Are these skeets? People say skeet, and then I laugh because that's not. It's not a
I
safe
would just say
term.
I would say
A Blue Sky post.
he posted on Blue
Yeah.
Sky. Yeah,
He, po-
that's what I would say.
he posted on Blue Sky, basically saying, "Hey, for people that keep asking me, no, I'm not playing Yosuke again
Yosuke.
in Persona 4 Remake. I begged them to I basically begged them, and it's not happening. So stop asking me." And that's kind of a wild thing because Persona 4 Remake is not officially confirmed. And what's wild to me is that this post is up still. Like I thought within an hour it'd be like, oh wait, because I mean, look, there's two scenarios here, right? One, he thought the game was fully revealed for one reason or another. Maybe he saw an article talking about the rumors of it or whatever. He thought the news was out there, and so he made his own public post to be like, hey, by the way, I'm not doing this. And then walked away and has not seen the flood of messages and reactions to him posting this. Or option B, he's mad, salty, and just letting the chaos flow, which feels less likely to me. I don't think,
Yeah.
unless he just thinks his relationship with Sega is just that gone or whatever. It just seems like an unnecessary move. I don't know. It's kind of wild that message is still up. I thought it would have been pulled by now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, so for context, in Persona 3 Reload, the entire party members were recast. And that one made a bit more sense, mainly because there were certain voice actors under that cast that have more or less been blacklisted by a lot of the VA community due to allegations. And so that made sense. I that was one of the top things I was thinking about was how are they going to deal with the casting? Are they just going to recast Junpei or and then they just been like, hey, we're going to recast the entire
Everybody.
thing.
Yeah.
And then they gave the old cast small roles in replacement. So Liam O'Brien, who voiced Akihiko, was the police officer that sells you. He's the merchant in the game, and so it's one of those things where that made sense, and that was a nice little tribute to the OG cast. So going into 4, I very much expected the same thing. Even though I would love to see Laura Bailey and Matt Mercer and Yuri Lowenthal all back doing a Persona game. Well, I mean, technically it was Troy Baker in Persona, and then Matt Mercer took over later. But it'd be cool to see Matt Mercer do the full kanji this time around. But also yo, they're booked and busy. You know what I mean? They're booked and busy. But and so I just don't think with the context of Persona 3 Reload and them giving them those other roles as kind of consolation for being recasted. I don't think this is him being spiteful. I don't think it's him being petty.
Sure.
I think that there was definitely some sort of miscommunication.
Yeah.
But also if there was miscommunication, why is this post still up?
Yeah, you'd imagine by now that someone would have talked to his agent and his agent would have texted him or something, right? Just being like, hey, you got to take that down right now. Because that's the biggest thing about this that's wild to me is, it's the statement in the first place, again, misunderstandings happen, miscommunications. He might have thought the news was out there by now or something, sure. It's wild that it's because it'd be one thing too if it kind of was under the radar for a bit, but this gained traction immediately. I mean, there are already news articles up about it. All the replies and quote posts, whatever, are being did we know 4 Remake was a thing for sure? Are you confirming this right now? It's just it's very obviously, he has said something he probably shouldn't have. And so it's wild that it's still up to me.
Yeah, my best guess is that he's in the booth right now recording something maybe, and he's just not by his phone or something like that.
Man posted and went to work and has no idea what he's done.
Yeah, no, that definitely happens where people will make posts, think nothing of it, and then they'll just be away from their phone all day, and then they're just like, oh shit, I wasn't I know it's being perceived like this. That's not the case. So, I do want to share exactly what he said, just
Sure.
for just
Yeah.
because. Why not? Why not? So he said, so he tweeted this at 7:37 a.m. today, which is May 28th. And for the a quote, and for those who keep asking, no, I will not be returning as Yosuke for the Persona 4 remake. I asked, maybe I even begged, but they didn't want me to come back. End quote. So there's that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I feel like a lot of people that even the people that love Persona 4 really like aren't big fans of Yosuke.
No,
And
but it's not Yuri's fault.
no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying this more as in like I think it's interesting, like because I know that Yuri particularly really likes like voicing Yosuke,
Mhm.
and so it's just like it's just like really interesting the kind of difference between the like, oh, I love voicing Yosuke, and then like a lot of people are just like, yeah, we kind of hate that character, but like because like I mean I do I'm not trying to get into this big Persona 4 character hole, but like there were some interesting like changes that Atlas made during development about Yosuke. Like Yosuke was supposed to be bisexual. Yosuke was, there was supposed to be more to him, and then like you know, I don't hate Yosuke, but I think he's like one of the least interesting characters of the bunch.
Yeah, and he absolutely is like the main source of some pretty bad scenes as far as yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like if that was a thing, 3 before Reload and then 4 and even like 5 to an extent, like, there are some dialogues and bits that are like, y'all, this ain't it. Like, just you
yeah,
don't need this in this game. And Yosuke was the main driver of that in 4, that like we just don't need
yeah.
this kind of like, you don't need to make fun of these people and such. And so it's like, just don't,
Hmm.
we could just get rid of that. Which
He's
that
also just the perv of the group as well.
Yes, that
So
too. Which that is another thing I'm curious about is, you say like changes that were made to Yosuke's character before full release. I mean, we know from 3 Reload that like there are adjustments. There are little changes that have been made. There are things they've gotten rid of that were in the previous one and things they've added in. And so I am curious, like, you know, assuming 4 Remake is real, which we were already kind of assuming before this news today. This is just like one more nail in
yeah,
the coffin. I'm
yep.
curious uh what more additional changes like that there could be. Can we save Yosuke? And will Yuri Lowenthal
Mm.
not be the voice behind saved Yosuke, which just makes it even more painful? I don't know. It's
Yeah,
the whole
well,
thing.
we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so next week, next
Yep.
week we're gonna get a Persona
Next
4
week.
remake announcement, basically. So, next story.
I'm actually going to interrupt you real quick
Okay.
because on the Discord, one of our members, Chai, posted something that Jeff Keighley just posted, like his little infograph of like all the partners for SGF.
Okay.
And I mean, unsurprisingly, there's a lot of big names on here, but I just think relevant to things that you and I have talked about, Square Enix is on the list. And I don't think they're going to talk about Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I like that we just had an embargo for that for Dragon Quest Day. I don't think that's what they're talking about. So what else is there left to talk about?
And we're gonna talk about that. That leads into our. Let's just jump into it. It was gonna be our story after, but let's jump into it right now. Kingdom Hearts 4 is seemingly undergoing English voiceover right now. A a guy who I've never heard of, like a voice actor. No disrespect to this guy. I'm not trying to say like he's just like some rando person, but I personally have not heard of this person. Um, who basically shared like, oh, here are all the things that I have worked on over the past year, and it's like these 3 things I've never heard of, and then Kingdom Hearts 4. And he made the post on Twitter uh on May 26th at 8:15 p.m. and this really didn't even gain traction until like last night. So it was up for like a day and no one was really talking about it
Right.
until now. Um the voice actor's name is Zach Pokres, I believe is how you pronounce it, Pokres. And he said, quote, these are just all in these are just projects all in the last year. And then in parentheses regarding Kingdom Hearts 4, last one I have permission the last one I have permission to disclose without showing anything else regarding it. All high quality projects that have taken over the industry. I'm in studio rosters that most people would dream of being in, all without an agent and just always pushing. So yeah, it's basically just like him talking about, like, you know, you can be a voice actor, you can do this type of thing. But yeah, he's got Kingdom Hearts 4 on here. And people are just like, wait, what the fuck? Just nonchalantly dropping that Kingdom Hearts 4 voiceover is happening.
Yeah, which I'm not an expert on the pipeline, but voiceovering is usually
one of the last
it's
things.
like on the later stages. Yeah, it's not like the final thing necessarily, but like you're pretty far in when you're at that point.
Exactly. And another thing that's really interesting too, about not particularly this, but also just like what I learned about the Kingdom Hearts voiceover sessions. So there was a panel at Anime Las Vegas, I believe is what the event was called. And it was Ray Chase, Max Middleman, and Robbie Damon. They have some sort of thing together. I don't remember what it's called. But they had a panel together and they were talking about recording for Kingdom Hearts. And Ray Chase and Max Middleman specifically are the two that have recorded for them. Like Ray Chase is the Master of Masters, and then Max Middleman was one of the foretellers. Is one of the foretellers. And so they were talking about like how the sessions would take way longer than most sessions would for the lack of amount of lines that they would say, because it all needs to be approved in real time.
Oh.
Like they have to like say the lines, and then there has to be like there's someone at like from Disney that is like, okay, we're approving that. Yeah, literally.
Just hanging out in the corner, giving the thumbs up or the thumbs down, like do it again.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's like if it's like thumbs up, thumbs down, literally, but they, you know, it is an ongoing thing while they're recording, which I thought was super fascinating. And so, and you know, there's other people that but like, for example, David Gallagher, who's the voice of Riku, he recently started streaming. And you know, he doesn't like go fully in on all the Kingdom Hearts stuff, even though like a lot of people are there because he's Riku from Kingdom Hearts. But like, you know, he hasn't like said anything or like teased anything or anything like that. We don't know how big a part Riku is going to play in Kingdom Hearts 4. That's a whole nother. That could be a topic of the show. That could be a topic of the show. And so yeah, it's cool. It's cool that we got this announcement because again, we were talking about it like two episodes ago that like I think Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to, I mean, I think now it's more or less definitely going to be at SGF, if not Final Fantasy 9 remake, or both. And but I also think that Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out next year. I don't, it feels like it's gonna happen.
Feel it in your bones. I get you.
Your thoughts on that at all? Because I feel like I just
no, you're good. I mean, you are the KH guy of us too. So I mean, not that I don't enjoy the series. I've kept up with them as well. Yeah, I mean that all checks out. Like again, like I'm not an expert on pipeline and like how far in that we can like safely estimate there are with, you know, voice acting happening. I think it's also an interesting question of like, you know, you say, you know, we don't know the voice actor for Riku if he's been recording anything, whether that's because Riku's, you know, involved or not, but also because we don't really know much about this other voice actor disclosing that, you know, they're working on Kingdom Hearts 4. There's that kind of question of like, well, who are you voicing? Right? Like, is this just like, are you just doing like background character work and that was fine for them to bring up? Are you voicing like a new character? The fact that, you know, it looks like they went and made sure they had permission to disclose, hey, this is a thing I'm doing right now. And that's like the first sign of that, you know, is for this random message on Twitter. Yeah, man. Between that and Square Enix being listed, like the fact that Square Enix is listed for SGF at this point officially, like that's not surprising in the fact that like yeah, it's Square Enix. They're one of the biggest companies. Of course, they would probably be there and show something. But now that we know they're listed, it's like okay, they're probably not going to talk about Dragon Quest 1 and 2 because they just did that like this week.
Yeah.
We were part of an embargo for that. So like that's already out there. What other projects could they be talking about? And that's where you get that question, right? Of like Kingdom Hearts 4, Final Fantasy 9, whatever. Like, it seems like, especially with the whole thing, we've been talking about, like, this is our third week in a row talking about Kingdom Hearts stuff. And it just kind of feels like, yeah, nothing here has been definitive, but there's enough pieces here and there where it's like, it wouldn't be that weird to have 4 at SGF this year. Like, it just feels and nothing's ever for sure. I've done I've done this to myself plenty of times in the past where I'm like, the signs are out there. We're getting this reveal. It's happening. And it didn't end up happening. But
Can I just say, in a perfect world, because it would be so funny. It'd be so funny. And I think it would actually be really cool and hype. If Kingdom Hearts 4 does get a trailer at SGF, I would love it if it started off as if it was a Star Wars trailer. Like, it literally starts off with, in a galaxy,
right.
a long time in a galaxy far, far away. And then it does like the Star Wars logo and everything, and people are just like losing their minds and they find out it's Kingdom Hearts. I would be like not even as like throwing shade to Star Wars fans,
Sure.
just because like I think that would be
madness.
it would be such a cool way to announce the world.
Sure.
Like that's like like whenever they announce Star Wars, assuming that it's it doesn't mean it has to be now or at SGF, but like whenever they announce Star Wars for Kingdom Hearts, I want it to be like that, like where it's like in a galaxy, a long time galaxy far, far away. Star Wars logo, as if it's like the beginning of a movie.
Yeah, you want the redirect.
Yes. I want that shit so bad. Because why not? Why not do it?
Oh, the reactions across the internet would be very entertaining to say the least.
Yes, it would be great. But also, like, again, could be Final Fantasy 9 remake, and that would also be very cool.
Yeah. Or who freaking knows sometimes, right? Like, I feel like those are the two most likely candidates as far as, like, SGF. You're anticipating something that's going to be a mainline big name thing that would drop. Like, they're probably not going to announce another Saga remaster or something at this. But you never know until we actually see it. So we'll find out. They are at least a partner. So
I love how there's just Nintendo Switch 2 on this on this
not Nintendo,
round
Nintendo
of
Switch
partners.
2. Yeah.
Yep, just Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah. Next story, we got a Pokemon Presents coming on July 22nd.
Talk about a way, like I forget how often we learn about the Pokemon Presents timings. Like you can always anticipate like the Pokemon Day one, but like this feels very in advance. Like, are they just getting ahead of how much of a mess June is to be like, yeah, it's gonna be in July. Hold
on. I think historically they either do it like they do it kind of like a Nintendo Switch Direct, where it's like the day before, like, hey, there's gonna be a Pokemon Presents tomorrow, or they do it way ahead of time.
Interesting.
And so I'm curious. I think the main question or thing to discuss is that outside of Pokemon ZA and like the kind of go-to updates that you kind of expect from a Pokemon Presents, what are you hoping / expecting from this Pokemon Presents?
I mean, okay. Look, obviously ZA would be a heavy focus because I assume that's when we'll actually finally get some like real final details move in. In terms of like potential other things they could reveal that would be hype. I mean, obviously we will see updates on all the numerous spin-off and side projects. I think the only kind of like big hype thing, and this is I think an outside chance for July. I don't think it would happen this soon. Would be to talk about like what are we on Gen 10? Like even just to like hint it, right?
Gen 10, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I like maybe we get a teaser for Gen 10 because like obviously that isn't happening this year at this rate unless they're really pulling that out last second.
We
Um,
we need the 5 remake first. Gen 5 remakes first.
uh, no, because I mean we just got didn't we just get Gen 4? Like they do a remake every other gen, and so we just got Gen 4 remakes as part of Gen 8, and
Well,
then
they've been no, because it was Gen 7 Hoenn remake, Gen 8 Sinnoh remake, Gen 9 Unova remake.
I don't think that's as set in stone as you're thinking, but
I mean, it's not, but like
no,
since Gen
no,
7, that has been the trend.
Gen 3 remake was Gen 6.
No,
Yes.
Alpha Sapphire. Those were the last.
Yeah, Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby were Gen 6. They were alongside with because those were 3DS. It was
Yeah,
yeah.
so was Gen 7.
Oh wait, so it was yeah. But no, Sun and Moon was after Alpha. It was after Oras.
I don't know if that's true. I'm a double check that, but keep talking.
Uh, yeah. So like in my mind, if my pacing is correct, which you're double
Okay.
checking right now,
You're correct. You're
yeah.
correct.
So we got Gen 3 remake in Gen 6, Gen 4 remake as part of Gen 8. So I don't think Gen 5 remake happens until after Gen 10.
Here's what I'll say about that. What you're saying like makes sense. I hope you're wrong, because no. Here's why I
Yeah.
hope you're wrong. Is because Gen 9 was not ready when it came out,
Sure.
and I know that like for the Pokemon Company,
Well, but this is
like
already, and we're already behind schedule though. That's what I'm saying. Is it like we're probably not getting Gen 10 this year, and this would be the 3 year mark. And normally we would have a new gen this year if they were maintaining the same 3 year pacing. So, like, if it comes out in 2026, that's a 4 year gap. That's longer than we've had in the past. I mean, who knows how much?
Does Carmine come out in 22?
I believe so.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I will double
Because
check that right now.
here's the thing.
Yeah,
Oh
November
my gosh, you're
22.
right. That's wild. That feels like that just came out. What?
To be fair, the last
Uh,
5 years have all suffered from some kind of weird time compression that is everyone's lives changed in the 20s. But
so here's the thing that's interesting about that is like I don't know. I feel like when even though there was the trend of every 3 years, I feel like people were surprised that Gen 9 was announced when it did, when it was first announced.
well, especially because it
And maybe
was so
that
close to Arceus.
yeah, and maybe it was because like they announced a new like kind of branch,
Yeah,
right? With the Legends games. I personally hope that they more so take their time with the next generation. One because like it just doesn't feel necessary to me to like to
sure.
to to do these generations so frequently like that. Especially now when like the games are just they just take longer to make. Um,
Yeah,
you know that
I agree with you from like a giving it the time it needs kind of stance. I just feel like I'm honestly already surprised we didn't get Gen 10 this year because so much of the greater Pokemon company relies on new generations because it's like that's TV show, that's merchandising, that's cards, that's like everything relies on a steady flow of new Pokemon designs and new things to like call back to with each new generation. And so like the fact that it's already not a 3 year gap, but probably going to be a 4 year gap, I would be very surprised if it's farther out than next year because that's really taking their time with like a empire that relies on that mainline series, being fairly stable in like releases.
yeah, I mean Gen 10 probably will come out next year. I'm not happy about that, but it just kind of is what it is. I I think that because especially when you put in the perspective of like the TCG, because when you're talking about the anime, I'm like, yeah, but the anime just the original anime just ended, and then they had like took a break, and now they're doing the Horizons,
Right. Yeah.
and so like that gave them some time to breathe. But with like the TCG, then that makes things harder. That makes things definitely harder. Um, So yeah, probably will. Um, they'll probably also just have these kind of interim sets, kind of like the Pokemon 151,
Sure.
right? Where they just don't. They're like, oh, they're not a part of the Scarvi like series of releases. And they could still do that. They could still do that, and then they could not take forever, or they could take their time. But yeah, it's one of those things for me. Like, I'm not as worried about it now that the Switch 2 is coming out, because with the Switch 2, um, I'm finally gonna play Scarvi. I was just like waiting for
Yep.
an update, and then
Oh,
they're like, oh, we're not gonna do that, but we'll do it on the Switch 2, and I'm like, that's even better.
I
That's
still
even better.
I still remember they did the social posts being like, "Hey, we're looking into doing a patch to fix performance." And I went, "Okay, I'm not going back to Scarvi until that drops." And it technically never dropped, and the closest thing we're getting to that is the Switch 2 version, which is a free update at least. So,
I'm also gonna I'm also gonna do like a not an SOS, but like a personal announcement to our listeners. So as you know, I am, or unless this is your first time listening, I am a physical games collector, especially for the Switch. And they back during the Sword and Shield era, they released a very limited physical copy version of Sword and Shield with the expansion pass on the cart. Um, that shit's super expensive now.
oh yeah.
That shit's super expensive now, to the point where when the Scarvi one dropped, day one I bought both of them. I was like, I'm not playing games. I was like, I'm not playing games. I bought both of them. I have them both. And so if y'all happen to have a copy of either of those that you're willing to get rid of at a reasonable price, for your homie Cameron Hawkins, you know, hit up my DMs on socials at CamFinalMix, because I was looking at those prices the other day, and I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is absurd. Um considering considering that I have those games physically, and then I just bought the expansion pass, but I want them both physically. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there while we're talking about Pokemon really quick.
Also, just real quick
Um,
on the subject of physical, because we've just been seeing them back to back to back, and it really does bother the eyes a little bit. Part of the Pokemon news was they showed the cover art for ZA, and like cool, like exciting for it, but they showed the cover art for both it and the Switch 2, and just keeping in line with all the freaking other ones, they put the giant banner on the bottom that's just this whole in-depth explanation of includes Switch 1 version of game plus Switch 2, and especially seeing it and the Switch 1 version side by side is just like, oh, the Switch box art is so much cleaner. Like, that just is a better looking box. Like, I get it for the game key cards, because game key cards are already like a mess in the physical space anyways, and like it's good to have that disclosure on the bottom, on the front. But for the ones that are just the upgrades, it's like, man, just put that on the back. I can flip the case around. Just let the front look clean. What are you doing?
uh, uh, yes, no, the box art is disgusting. But okay, the box stuff is disgusting,
Yeah.
but the box art, they understood the assignment.
Oh yeah. Which, by the way, there's one Pokemon in there where I'm not sure who that is. That's either a new Pokemon or a new form. They're kind of hiding behind a building. You just see like their head basically, and it's like, I don't know who that guy is. What is that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
If you look, so it's actually, sorry, it's not on the box art. The box art hides it, but there's a larger image they posted of that same scene that's like a 16:9 image. And on that one, there's a Pokemon like kind of behind a building that it's like, I don't know who that guy is. Like, that's just a design I do not recognize. And maybe my Pokemon knowledge is just that weak right now that like I'm not catching it, but I've never seen that dude before in my life. Let me see if I can post it in the chat real quick.
Yeah, post it in general, because I don't know what you're talking about. I'm looking, I'm like, I can't see it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
in this
they
post,
understood. Go
look
ahead.
to, so I just posted it in general. Look at Noivern and then look to the immediate left of Noivern. There is some kind of Pokemon Oh, sorry, the immediate right of Noivern. There's a Pokemon that's like kind of obscured by a building, and there's like a crystal coming out of the back of it, and it's maybe purplish in color. And it's like there's some design aesthetic here that's similar to Pokemon like, Carbink and Diancie, but I don't recognize this specific guy at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I can't see it. I genuinely cannot see what you're talking about.
Huh.
So, if you see what Kevin's talking about,
Like,
you're listening to the video version,
let
put
me
it in the comments.
let me like zoom in on it, and I'll put it in the chat as well.
But no, with the podcast art, they got Totodile on the trainer's shoulder. They just know what's up. They understood. That's where my
this
that's
is
where my,
this is where the love comes from. Gotcha.
that's where my little king deserves to be. So, and then and then there's Tepig just idling there. Who's gonna choose Tepig? You know what I mean?
Look, man, I'm a Firestarter fan, and I'm struggling with this one. I don't know what I'm picking. I'm probably gonna go
Come
Totodile.
on.
We'll see.
Yeah, because he's the best starter. Like, come on now. Let's yeah. um, for me, because we're talking about what we hope to see at the Pokemon Presents.
Oh, right, that's when it started.
Yeah. That's where this conversation started. I'm always going to say it. It's never going to happen. But give me a new Pokemon Pinball.
Oh, that's
There's
right.
no
I thought you were
there's
about
no
to say.
reason.
I thought you were gonna say Let's Go, but yes, also Pokemon Pinball with. Yep, that would be cool.
Yeah, my thought. No, let's go. Johto's not gonna
Oh
happen.
yeah, no, that's dead. That's dead in the ground.
Like,
It's gotta be.
like once they announced that Chikorita and Totodile were starters, I'm like, oh, this is never going to happen.
Yeah.
That was a one and done, which sucks, but it is what it is. And so, but yeah, Pokemon Pinball. How have we not come back to this over the past how many years now since the GBA? And again, like I've said this on socials. I don't know if I said it on this podcast before, but y'all could make that the most disgusting model ever, and I would eat that shit up. Like you could make that a mobile game where you have to buy the tables to get certain
Each day,
uh
each day you have an
parts
allotment
of the
of pinballs to shoot out, and you have to like either
oh no
recharge
that's
resources to get more, or
that's too far. That's too far. I that's too far. But like no, just like you have to purchase the tables. They get updated over the years. So you start with like Kanto, and then the Johto tables come out, and then shut up and take my money. Like genuinely, like shut up and take my money. I would buy it. I want Pokemon Pinball more than anything from the Pokemon Company. Like if you said like, oh, another Johto remake or a new Pokemon Pinball, I might be going with Pokemon Pinball. I genuinely, or like, oh, a new like Pokemon game in the same vein as Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness. I might be picking Pokemon Pinball. Like it's the best version of digital pinball that there is. Like why would you not want more Pokemon Pinball? So yeah. There's that. Outside of that, you know, I don't really care. I'm not big into Pokemon like that anymore, as I've said, and we'll dig into this a little bit. I want to dig into this a little bit once we get to the topic of the show for this week. But yeah, so
I will say,
we'll see what go ahead.
yeah, no, I will say for me, like thinking more on like spin-offs and stuff, I think what would be cool for me is just literally like any interesting collaborative spin-off. Because I feel like they haven't done that basically since what, Pokken? Was Pokken the last like interesting, like, oh, we're working with another dev and making it there? Because like there was a time
Yeah.
where we got all the mystery dungeons, which we did get a new one, but it wasn't actually a new one, it was a remake.
Yeah.
But like all the mystery dungeons, Pokemon Conquest, Pokken, like all these games that are like, hey, we're working with this dev that makes this style of game, and we're gonna, make a Pokemon thing that is cool by them in their style. And those games are great. And we haven't really gotten a new one since the Mystery Dungeon remake, and before that, Pokken. Like it's been a while now. So that is something that I would like to see, certainly.
That would be cool. That would definitely be cool. I think that they're just kind of in a place right now where they're just more in the mobile
Oh, for sure.
verse
No, I
that
mean, they've probably made so much more money off of all the various mobile Pokemon games than any of those collaborations. Like,
yeah.
financially, I completely understand. That doesn't mean I don't think the other option is cooler.
Oh, it
Financially,
definitely is cooler. It definitely is cooler.
financially, yes. Like, I get it. I see why they're doing that.
Righty. Next story.
Yeah, we're gonna speed through these next couple ones. I think
Yeah. Yeah. Alex Garland's Elden Ring.
it's real.
It's officially confirmed. It's real, guys. The random person or the random site that posted it that it went viral for and then they later took down, that story's real. Uh we talked about that a few weeks ago in an episode. Kevin, did you want to add anything to that now that it's officially real?
I look, man, I don't have a ton of faith in like any movie adaptation of a game from the outset. I'm not going to be like instantly this is going to be terrible, but like I need to know what the vision is because just saying Elden Ring movie doesn't mean much to me. Like I need to know what you mean when you say Elden Ring movie. And once we see that direction, once we see that vision, maybe I'll be more on board. But right now I'm just kind of like, all right, sure. Great guys, do what you're going to do. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big Souls-like guy. I understand why Elden Ring is loved the way that it is. I think Alex Garland is a great director. I think that out of all of his works that I've seen, I don't know. I think that the closest vibe-wise that I would get from him directing an Elden Ring film is like Annihilation. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've seen Annihilation, but like that's kind of the vibe that I would get.
Of
Did I talk about this on last time we talked about it?
I think you
I
did.
feel like I did.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
talked about how much of a fit Alex Garland would be for something like this, and I think Annihilation came up as like that is the one movie where like, okay, I can kind of see like what the logic is in this pick, and like if I'm taking some aspects of what was good about that movie and applying it to like Elden Ring, like okay, I can kind of see that. Um, yeah, so
I feel like that the approach that's going to be done with Elden Ring and like really any Souls, well not any Souls, but like Dark Souls and like Bloodborne is like the ambiguity of those worlds as you're exploring them. And I think that Alex Garland does a great job at having this like tense ambiguity in the movies and the like settings that he places his movies in.
sure.
So I can see the line of logic there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like I think there is like potential in an idea like this. I just need to know what the actual specific goal is because there's only so much you can do in a 2 to 2.5 hour window of time. And like, what exactly are we trying to do here? Are we trying to have a very service level storytelling of like, here's the main character doing their thing in the Elden Ring universe? Are we adding plot? Are we keeping it extremely vague and lore heavy? Like, just what is this movie? And I just until I see actual specifics of like what the actual pitch is, I just don't know. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see, as most things we do. Kevin, Nintendo 64 for Nintendo Switch Online is getting some updates for the Switch 2. You want to talk about them?
Yeah. So N64 for NSO is getting some updates, and it's things that we've seen like in previous ones. They just didn't have it in N64 specifically yet. The funniest one to me because it's like I remember this was an issue, but like seeing it added as a new feature to me is very funny. Like, oh, awesome! You can finally redo your buttons. Like you just could never do that. You could never reassign. And like I don't reassign my buttons very often, but I know that's such like a base level popular option for people to have, especially when you're remapping something as kind of odd as the N64 controller. Just very funny to me that that is one of the new features, and I'm glad it's there. It's just a funny reminder that it wasn't this whole time. Past that, a little more interestingly, they're adding the ability to rewind. We've had this again on other past NSO emulators, but just not for N64 until now, so that's neat. And then a CRT filter. So if you want to have those scan lines, if that makes a huge difference to you, that is going to be an option now.
Yeah, it is cool. I will give Nintendo credit that like of the kind of amount of new stuff that they're adding to NSO from the get-go
Yeah.
with Switch 2, because they totally could have chosen not to do that, and people still would have just bought the Switch 2
Yeah.
and
And then just to be
normal.
clear, I don't think these features are Switch 2 specific. I believe they're just adding it to N64 emulation in general. At least like the major releases for it are saying 3 additional features are coming to Nintendo 64. I don't see Switch 2 specifically mentioned on the release. At least not on what I'm looking at right now. Maybe you have a different post you're looking at where it
I
specifies
remember
that.
seeing. Okay, so here's the rewind and CRT screen filter is exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay, that makes
The
sense for
view
Rewind.
slash
Yeah.
Yeah, the view slash change controls are going to be on both.
Okay, that makes more sense because yeah, like of the 3, Rewind makes the most sense of like, oh, you needed something a little more powerful to like do this well and not break things. Cool.
Yeah.
The CRT filter, that's a little surprising to me. I mean, I don't know enough on the back end there to know why that would be an issue for a regular Switch versus Switch 2, but okay.
And then some quickies for this week. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is coming on October 30th. Expedition 33 has sold 3.3 million copies in 33 days. They literally said, quote, "We cannot make this up."
I do have to say real quick, when I first saw that announcement, like when I very first woke up and I was very tired and my brain just like filtered out the decimal. So I was extra confused for a minute. I was like, how the hell did they get
33
33
million?
million? Like, what did like I know they were doing well, but goddamn. How did that happen?
Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, will be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade for $2.49. As well as Fantasy Life I has announced that they have sold 500,000 copies already. So good for them. And then lastly, Metaphor ReFantasio is coming to Game Pass on May 29th, which should be the day that this podcast drops publicly.
Yep.
So, yay!
And Front Mission 3 Remake got like just suddenly announced, confirmed, and a release date with June 26th.
Yes. I actually meant to talk about that, but I forgot to add it.
Oh, you're good. One other thing, real quick, too, with Dragon Quest. So we know release date. They did also announce a collector's edition that is a collector's edition.
One of the worst collector's editions I've
rough.
ever seen.
It's rough, y'all. It's rough. Look, I love Dragon Quest, and obviously, I very much enjoy Square Enix as a company. I like a lot of their games. I do not know what's going on with some of these collector's edition choices. I got they sent me the one for 3, and like 2.
Are you lucky?
The 1 and 2 collection is like it's like the same but worse, because at least the 3 one has the collector box to put 1 and 2 in as well. So it's like, oh, here's the complete saga in this nice little collector box. The announcement for the 1 and 2 CE is like, oh, hey, remember that collector box? Yeah, this will finish them. Anyways, here's some acrylic stands and some digital content, and it's $150. Like, I feel like collector's editions in general are just getting more and more expensive with less and less stuff. Like, there are exceptions, of course, but like, it's been rough right now. And I don't know how much of that is like anticipating tariffs and like freaking out about how much it costs to produce and like send some of the stuff out. But it's not great, y'all.
Yeah, I wish at the very least they could have like done a complete edition, right? Where it's like, hey, we're remaking some of these Dragon Quest 3 collector's editions so that those that missed out can get the book to put both games in, and like
Sure.
things like that. Because I missed out on the collector's edition for Dragon Quest 3. Like by the time I was like ready to like drop the money on it, it was sold out even for Xbox.
Yeah.
And so I was just, because that's what I was going to get it for. And so I was like, well, shit. And now I'm like, well, I don't know if I really want to do this at this point.
Yeah, and then
So,
to just make it extra clear, so here is everything included in the collector's edition. I just pulled it up. So you get the game, which they put a little picture of the collector box from the last one in there to be like, hey, it completes this set. But that box does not come again with this collector's edition. Acrylic stands, like they did with 3, but there's fewer of them because for 3 they did this whole thing where it's like, oh, here's every job and every like version of that job with at least, here's a male version, female version, etc. This time around, it's, oh well, main characters of 1, main characters of 2, and the big bosses. So there's just fewer of them in general because there's fewer things to adapt. And I will say, like, I think sometimes acrylic standees get like kind of crapped on, and I think they're actually fine. Like they're cool, they're nice looking. I don't think it's worth the asking price that's going on here.
yeah.
But I think the acrylic standees are cool. And then everything else is digital. You get 2 exclusive digital wallpapers. Just 16:9 ones to do with what you want. You get a outstanding outfit kit, which is in-game items. I don't know if this is hinting at some kind of like visual customization system that has not actually been talked about for this game yet. But the items are Ring of Strength, Slime Earrings, Ariveste's Vest, and Madcap. And then included on this, but not actually exclusive to the collector's edition, is also a pre-order bonus, which is just a bunch of items that boost your stats. So Seed of Agility, Seed of Magic, Seed of Life, etc. And then apparently, if you own all 3 games, you unlock a cat suit that can be used in DQ 1 and 2. It's not entirely clear how this unlock works. It just says if you own the full Erdrick trilogy, you'll unlock the following rewards. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Cool. And then we're gonna get into what we've been playing this week. I have finally gotten back to Expedition 33.
Hey.
We're not talking spoilers, so you don't have to worry about that. At least story spoilers. And like boss names and things like that. I am. Where would you, Kevin? You know where I'm at. How far would you say I'm in Act 2 right now? Would you say
You're past.
I think I have like 2 major bosses left before the end of Act 2.
Yes, basically, you've got like 2 big dungeons left, and then Act 3 is very short. Potentially, like
Yeah.
Act 3 is basically here's the final dungeon and here's all the side stuff. So depending on how into like immediately wanting to do side stuff you are, that can be quite a bit. But you could also just like rush to the final dungeon if you wanted. Within Act 2, yeah, you basically have 2 major dungeons left at this point.
Okay. So something weird has happened since from when I played last night. Like when I was playing last night, I was like I was getting killed really easily from like basically everyone that wasn't uh for most of the part 2/3 of the party is all I'll say. For 2/3 of the party, like they were dying easy. Like no matter who I had in there. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm like under leveled or what. And so I ended up because we talked about this previously that like the attributes kind of feel like you're just dumping points into random stats and you're not really like it doesn't do a great job clarifying like the significance of everything and like how it's going to translate to the gameplay or to the combat. And like I think my frustration was like kind of realizing that this game's leveling is it reminds me a lot of Xenoblade, where like if you are not at a certain like level threshold, being 1 level lower can just completely fuck you. Like you can get because what happened was I ended up playing like I was doing one thing and I realized, oh, I can't do this yet. And so I go to the other parts of this dungeon and the fights were like a decent like push and pull, like nothing too crazy. And then I get to some of these like mini boss fights and I'm plowing through them. Absolutely plowing through them. And I was just like, wait, what's going on here? Is it because I'm like I just leveled up a bunch from fighting these minions, or like because like for those that don't know, most fights that aren't boss fights, you'll level up in like 2 fights. Like you level up pretty quickly throughout this game. And so I was just like, I think when I started my session, I was level 28. And then by the time I was done, I was like level 34.
Yeah, that section in particular, you level up pretty fast. I think there's something to the difficulty curve of how they introduce, because it's like where you were at in the game. There's 2 dungeons you can choose to go to, and they kind of imply which one you should do first.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how actually mechanically true that is, because it kind of felt like the first one was harder for me just because I had to level up more to like be strong enough for it, and then I like tore through the second one with like not like no difficulty, but like less than I had with the other one. Because I think
Hmm.
they're similarly statted out level wise, and so whichever one you go to first is just going to give you a little bit more of a headache. Um, I will say there is absolutely a point where the way leveling and stats work in that game, where like parrying varies in terms of how essential it is. Like it's I mean if you're good at parrying, that's just going to be your solution all the time. It's like parrying is just that good in that game that you need to be able to like do it consistently. But there are times where it's like, oh, if you fail to parry and you get hit, oh, you don't want to get hit like 4 times because then you'll go down. There's other times where it's like, oh, if you miss like a parry, your character's going down. That's just how it is. Like you just better dodge or you better parry because the attacks are going to hit hard. I think part of what happens is the stat balance of Pictos, because I feel like that's something that's very easy to forget for a lot of people. Because Pictos are how you learn the new like what are they called, luminaries, like the skills that you can equip. And
Luminous.
luminous, yes. So Pictos are great for that, but I think because that's the main advertised benefit of the Picto, people tend to fixate on like, oh, I gotta learn more Lumina, I gotta learn more Lumina, I gotta learn this ability, I gotta learn this ability. And then you totally tune out that, by the way, this is also how like this is the equipment of this game. These are armors. So like there's absolutely times where I've looked at a character's like Picto layout and I'm like, oh, all of these are boosting speed. None of these are increasing health. None of these are increasing defense. And they're giving, especially once you're getting into later stages of the game, the amount that these Pictos increase those stats heavily outpaces what like your level stat attributes are going to be doing. Like it's just
Hmm.
you're just going to be getting hundreds and hundreds of defense that your level up stat points aren't going to be contributing. So that's absolutely a thing that I think happens kind of at the midpoint where Pictos begin to really matter more and more, and you don't realize it until you're like, why am I getting one shot right now?
Yeah, I actually need to look into that because I honestly keep forgetting that the Pictos do the stats as well. So I like
Yeah.
I need to look and
No,
see.
like
It's like
it's not an uncommon thing. I've talked to lots of people where I bring that up around where you're at because I think around like past the midpoint of Act Two is where Pictos begin to really outpace like stat bonus attribute like numbers, like how much defense you're getting and stuff. And if you're not on top of that, like the game is assuming you are, and that defense and health really matters.
yeah, because right now I'm see I'm using a build for Verso where I got certain swords that allow me to attack twice. Like if I use the base attack, I can
Yeah,
go again.
I was using
And so
that one
like
for a while. Yeah.
that is like basically like what I am like upgrading. That is like what I am using moving forward because then I just use this ability called Phantom Stars, which uses all of your AP, but it hits everyone hard.
Yeah.
Like and so I'm like, and I can get it by like turn 2, easy.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is kind of broken right now. I'm just gonna abuse the
Yeah.
crap
No,
out of this.
that weapon is so good in the mid game. Like it there's another ability late game that kind of makes it a moot weapon choice, but like that got me
Really,
through Act 2 and like a large part of Act 3. And it was kind of once I got the ability that made it moot, I was like, "Oh, well crap, what do I do now? Like what weapon am I going to instead?" Because I went so all in on that one.
um, and I so I am going to talk about party members. So if you don't want to know about like names about upcoming party members, now's the time to skip. But so ideally, I wanted my party to be um how do I
Just say who the 3 party members are. Just do
yeah,
yeah.
Verso,
CL.
Monaco,
Oh,
and Mael.
okay.
Because I like, I don't know if I talked to you about
You like
Monaco yet.
having yeah, we talked a little bit about it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think you
I
used
like,
his name, but you talked about because I brought up how he's essentially the blue mage of the game. Like they bring back the blue mage
yeah,
mechanic from
yeah,
Final
and
Fantasy.
I like how he has like, you know, when you beat the different enemies, he gets the different abilities. Like that's how you get his skills. I'm like, this is really cool. This is something that I want to like be in my party. But again, like in the early stages of my session, one shotted, dude. Like these guys were like just like dying so easily, and I'm like, what the hell? And so I ended up using for that dungeon. I was using Lune more or less for just healing, more or less for just healing, but and reviving, but and then also CL because like um yeah, I mean CL's super good.
Oh,
CL is so good.
I feel like she
And
gets a little more balanced near the end, but like from when she joins through most of the main story, CL is just champion, just
so
all the damage. Yeah,
I am playing with fire with her because I'm using her the
the double damage
weapon I'm
one.
using.
Yeah, I love that
Yes,
weapon.
double damage both ways, dog. It's just like okay, so you take double damage, but also you
10
know you
foretell,
take double
guaranteed.
damage,
Yeah.
and so but yeah, and then the 10 foretell, the 10. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? This is easy. And then on top of that, I added the glass cannon Picto. So on top of that, she's doing an additional 25% and taking an additional 25%. So she is as glass cannon can be right now. Um and so and then also I got the I think there's an ability that applies foretell and marks them. So I've been, you know, I start off doing that, and then I use like Twilight Slash, which is like the kind of basic
Yeah.
dark ability. Or if like I need healing, I'm like, all right, Grim Harvest, and
Yep.
and she just does 9,999 each time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think for most people, CL is like your first time hitting damage limit because she just
Yeah.
once you do 10 foretell stacks or 20 foretell when you're in Twilight mode, like you're just dealing all the damage. It's great.
Yes. Yes. And so uh that might be my party
Yeah.
moving forward because now that like I've actually given you know used her a bit more properly, I'm like she's really fun. I'm not crazy about her character still as of yet, but like uh, you know, so it's not up to like how I normally
Sure.
approach my parties, but she's really good. It's hard to ignore. But yeah, it's really fun. It's well, it's really fun. I'm still not sold on the story.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I'm
you
really
really need
not.
you just need to finish Act 2, buddy. Like that's just and I'm
And
not
see,
saying Act 2 will convince you to like it more.
yeah,
I'm just saying finishing Act 2 is like then we can have a conversation. Like
yeah,
I just don't know how to like talk to you about the overarching story of the game without that additional knowledge of like where it goes into
sure.
Act 3. Cuz
For sure.
yeah.
And like ultimately that will probably just be during a spoiler cast
Oh
because
yeah,
like
yeah,
at this
yeah.
point we're not trying to talk deep spoilers like that on the weekly pod. But yeah, I've been told by people that know my tastes I think well enough and have beaten the game that and I told them like I don't know if I like super enjoy like
This.
the story
uh
the story in particular and like a lot of the characters I haven't really gravitated towards or anything like that and he said like he's like I don't think act 2 is going to change your mind. He said like I think you're going to feel that way till the end of the game, and I was like
From what
okay.
I know of your taste, because I'll say right now without getting into it, I love it. I eat it up. but
Hmm.
it does things that I like that are not particularly standard in like JRPG plot arcs and storytelling and character growth that like
Hmm.
I can see you not vibing with it.
Okay.
I really like it, but I could understand why you might bounce off of it a bit more. I don't think you're gonna like hate it, but I think you're gonna walk away and be like, cool. That's what this was. But like I just don't know until you do. Like we just I want to talk to you about it. I just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hoping that ideally by the time we record our episode, once we're back from SGF, I will have finished the game.
It'd be great
And
if you
then,
finished before SGF so we can talk in
oh
person.
no,
Yeah.
for sure. I just can't guarantee next week's episode.
For sure.
That's more
Oh
so
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and so hopefully that following week I will finish the game and then we can like do a spoiler cast, get a couple of people on to chop it up with. But as of right now, I'm just like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Um, it's I will say that certain things about the game started to click more with me this last session.
Hmm.
I still think there's some issues which we kind of already talked over with like kind of how the attributes work and
Yeah.
like kind of understanding of all that, but I'm enjoying my time with it. Um and we'll see how I feel once we get to the end of everything. Uh and then Kevin, you haven't played anything this week, right? So we can just get in topic of the show.
Yeah, nothing worth really sharing right now. At least, yeah, I kind of was all over the place a little bit. I made like a little bit more progress on 100 line. I went back there and worked my way through
Mm,
some of the other, later game routes, which still fantastic game. I think probably one of the more. I feel like by the end of this year, 100 line is going to be like the most underrated game as far as something that
I want to
is
play it.
really damn good and not nearly enough people are going to talk about or give its flowers because it's great. uh it has it's not even the problem. It's just, yeah, like it's part VN, and I think there are people who are just going to never give it a shot because of the type of game it is and who's making it. But damn, is it good.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because Xe was kind enough to send me a code for it, so I do have it now. Um, I need to. I really want to play. Like it is a high priority thing. Like it is something that I definitely want to play and finish before the end of the year.
Mhm.
Um, it's tough just because Death Stranding 2 comes out next month. I still need to finish the original Death Stranding, and I love Death Stranding. So I really like once I finish Expedition 33, that is kind of my priority thing. But also Ride Out also comes out next month, and I really want to play that.
Yep.
And so it's just like, you
It
know,
shit ain't
uh,
slowing down, and I'm
yeah,
sure SGF will bring us some more announcements where it's like, oh, by the way, if you thought like July and August were gonna stay dead, no. Well, even
yeah,
then, like even then,
exactly,
July's already getting pretty full. Like we know we're getting Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I realize is not a JRPG, but like I'm gonna play that.
yeah,
um, like
sure.
yeah, we there's definitely more on the way. So
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of nice is that like even though I'm definitely going to buy and eventually play like a lot of the big first party Nintendo stuff leading up to moving forward, I'm not they're not day ones for me. Like I don't even Mario Kart World, I'm like, yeah, like it's Mario Kart and that's exciting but I just don't see myself I don't see myself playing Mario Kart nowadays unless I like am playing with friends directly.
sure.
So we'll see about that. Uh I'm happy about Bravely Default outside of the game key card nonsense. But I don't need to play that day one when that comes out. So uh my Switch 2 is more or less going to be my upgraded Switch machine for the time being.
This can play
Because I
Scarlet Violet.
no real it's true though. Like it's true. Because if I'm not playing 100 Hero, I'm probably going to be playing Scarvi. Like genuinely, I'm excited to play Scarvi finally. And so yeah, it's one of those things like I want to get to 100 line really bad. I'm definitely gonna prioritize like my time to play it when it's probably gonna be that game that I'm going to slowly but surely play throughout the year. And I don't want that to be that game because it's such a story heavy game. I don't want to forget shit.
Yeah.
And so it really, honestly, if I just got a full-time job, everybody, this would be way easier. This would be way easier, like a non-issue. But right now, I have to work virtually all the time when I'm not recording this podcast. And so it is what it is. But yeah, so for the topic of the show this week,
Anyways,
one of our patrons, Yenvil, shout out to Yenvil. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Has been a patron sub to our top tier for the past 4 months. So he gets to give us the topic of the show to talk about for this week. And he just wanted us to talk about our favorite combat systems in JRPGs. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Kevin, do you have one to start us off on?
sure. I mean, I was gonna jokingly be like, "All right, let's just get out of the way, Cam. Let's talk about Tokyo Mirage Sessions for the 17th
Let's get it
time."
out of the way, baby. Let's go.
But if I'm starting, because I do love that combat system, that's a great combat system.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. I think I want to hard open with maybe like a less higher profile game. Like, I mean, I really like it. Like, it's not like an unheard of game or anything, but it's certainly not like a big mainline entry in something. Radiant Historia.
I thought you were going to say that. I don't know why. I was just like, the Radiant
The
Historia
combat is great. So for those that haven't, I think I've talked about this once before because we did an episode on like unique combat systems, and I gave that one a little bit of lip service there. Radiant Historia uses a turn-based system where it's like, you know, the actual, like, you see the turn order and you can manipulate it to an extent. So it's like, hey, I'm going to have a character like hold off so they can act again later. But you can even stack that to where it's like that character can act multiple times in a row. So, you know, there's been a couple combat systems that mess with that idea, and like that's fun. But what really pushes it to a different level with Radiant Historia is that it also uses this grid system for your enemies. It's not a huge area, but it's like a 3x3 or 5x5. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But it has, you know, enemies are set up on this grid, and characters have different abilities that can affect their positioning. So you can do things like if someone's in the back, you pull them to the front. Someone's, you know, in the bottom row, you can shift them over to where they're now in the top row. And that includes colliding enemies together. So the real big like meat of the combat system is doing things where it's like, all right, I'm gonna find a way to group all these enemies together into a single square and then just go all out. Like all my biggest single target moves that are now able to hit all of them at once, I'm just gonna like unload all those now that they're all in the same square. And there's other like special moves that play into this in really interesting ways. Like there's a character that can set up traps on squares. So you can be like, oh, like set a trap up here, and on the later turn, I'm going to really set it up to where I drag everyone around and bring them to that trap, and then also hit them with this move right after. It's just a very satisfying like combo setup system that I really found enjoyable, because like normally being able to stack turns together like that, yeah, that's fun. And there are games that encourage doing that in other ways by being like, oh, you know, you have to put the enemy in break status so you can deal extra damage or some such like that. And like, that's cool. But the extra layer of also messing with enemy positioning and really also making certain characters' moves way more important too, where it's like, you know, oh, this guy has a move that shifts to the left, and I really need that right now to play this way. Or because of who you have to use in your party for certain segments, you know, it makes you think about how to use their different positioning moves together in tandem. It's just really satisfying in a way that I don't think any other game has really done quite the same. Like, there's games that I think kind of skirt on a similar concept, but nothing has done it the specific way that Radiant Historia has. And it's just a great game. Like, it's honestly, I think, one of the best JRPGs on the DS and 3DS. And there are people who will absolutely sing its praises. Like, again, I don't think this is a game that's, like, unheard of or anything. but it's also definitely not a game I think enough people have played.
Yeah, it's one of the few games that I still need to add to my 3DS library. So and it's Atlas, so I definitely want to check it out. I've heard very good things. I think I'm like more interested in Strange Journey simply because it's like kind of like this sci-fi horror setting.
Sure.
Uh, and I'm not familiar with the combats like the system in Strange Journey, but that sounds really cool. And I've heard really good things about Radiant Historia.
Yeah, just absolute classic. Uh, Cam, any particular that you would like to shout out?
Let's just toss it to another Atlas joint. You know what I mean? Let's talk about Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Yeah, Tokyo Mirage Sessions has such a good battle system, and I think that I really hope that they find a way to reincorporate it into something else. Like I understand that they like to keep their kind of battle systems to specific franchises, but we're not going to get another Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and if we do, I would be stunned. I would be absolutely, uh, I would be doubting. I would be doubt, um, in denial. And what's cool about it is just and the thing is that why I want another one is not particularly just because the session system would come back, but I think that they can build upon it pretty easily. Like it, I'm not saying that it felt like a blueprint, but there's definitely like things that they could have added and changed over time to make it feel a little bit more versatile. Because I think that is a problem with like a lot of Atlas RPGs is that like it's kind of like a compliment, but it's also like a criticism where like once you understand the flow and you understand like the weaknesses, the approach to combat, it can feel a little stale at times, even with the flashy Persona like gameplay. And in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, it's like, oh, okay, like this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. We're good. We move on to the next battle. Um, and I think that with Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think one of the things that's so to explain exactly what the session system is like you can think of the elemental weakness system of Persona, but instead of getting a one more, if a different party member has a session skill that connects to the element that you used, they will do a follow-up attack immediately. And as you progress through the game, because in this game you only have 3 party members that are actually fighting, and then everyone else is in your reserve. So as you progress in the game, you'll get more party members. You'll get more abilities where, like, basically your reserve party members will also be able to do team up attacks as well. Um, and you get to, and then like by the time the game is over, you're getting like a session of like 12, like like 10 to 12 total, which is really cool. um and I think that the session I think another thing that like I wish in general Alice games did more, and but that Tokyo Mario Sessions like falls victim to it as well, is that you can kind of just use more or less the same party members throughout the game, and then you're more or less good. Like when there's certain dungeons, when they introduce a new character, like they kind of design it where it's like, hey, you should use this new party member. But then once you do that, it's kind of like, oh, I don't really need to use this party member anymore. I'm gonna go back to my old party member,
Yeah.
uh, and run the squad that I want to run. Um, and so yeah, I think that I think it's a very stylish, it's very addicting. I wish that we had like they gave options where you could have like swapped in older skills. Like it's one of those things kind of like SMT that like once you drop a skill, a session skill, it does not come back. You do not have the option to swap it back in. So you have to hard commit to those things. And I don't think the game does a great job of like showing you like, oh, this is what'll happen if this falls off, or this is what'll happen if this falls off.
Right.
And like TMS, while it has its obvious inspirations from SMT, um, it's not a difficult game. It doesn't have that level of challenge that you get from an SMT. And so like I feel that they could have made that a bit more accessible, just to be like, hey, here's kind of like a chart or something where
Mhm.
you can kind of see like how beneficial each of these skills are based off of all of your party members' current skills, and like kind of the potential, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think that if there was another Tokyo Mirage Sessions, there could be a lot that they could build off of. Um and because yeah, that game is really, really great. It's really, really great. It's still probably my I mean, like for a long time it was my favorite game on the Switch. I don't know if I would still say that.
Mhm.
But
It's up there.
man, it's definitely up there. It's a top 25 JRPG. That's what I would say.
It's no Ni no Kuni. Uh, I'm just gonna keep saying that every time we bring up the top 25 list. Um, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like that's as someone else who has very much enjoyed Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Like I think the combat is one of the like big selling points of that game, which is also I think a bit of a shame because like I know so many people who would just never give it the time of day because of like the service
Oh,
level, like what?
idols,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah, no,
that.
yeah, yeah. Like even if you like SMT or Fire Emblem, like there's this third element that feels completely out of place to both of them, which is the heavy emphasis on idols and like the entertainment industry. And it's like I understand, and I'm not even going to try and convince you that like I'm not even going to try and argue no, hold on, the story's really good, you're going to get into it. I'm not even going to try and do that. It's just like no, I'm
You know
not
what?
saying the story isn't good. I'm just saying
Okay.
I'm not even going to try and use that as the argument for why. It's like just try the combat. Like just like get into the combat, get in the later stages. I do think it is one of the best combat systems that like the SMT like Persona franchise has spawned off, and not nearly enough people have gotten to play with it because they just don't like the basic pitch, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. Another one for me, I'm gonna go with a slightly bigger name now. Because I feel like I got to shout out a little bit my favorite of like the mainline Final Fantasies from a combat
Okay.
perspective,
Okay.
and that is 10. I think when it comes to just raw combat, 10 is for me probably the best like mainline Final Fantasy, for a few different reasons. I think ATB was like a cool thing for a while that felt like that was Final Fantasy was having active time battle combat. Like seeing the bars fill up and doing your actions, like it's cool. But there is a strategic element to actually having like the turn order up in the corner and knowing that moves can impact where you're coming up next, which again this ties back to like what I was saying about Radiant Historia having a similar system. 10 isn't giving you quite as much turn manipulation, but it does still play an important role because like there's a real cost to certain moves where it's like, yeah, this move's cool, but I'm not going to act again till when. Versus like, oh, this move, I'm able to do something again really quick. It's just a nice little like, it's not necessarily my strongest attack, but like I can do something again very quickly. And more than anything, coming from like past Final Fantasies, and this ties a little to what you were saying about Tokyo Mirage Sessions, making the whole party useful. Like outside of Kimari, which was maybe a little bit of an oversight, uh, like you have a game of specialists and then one awkward jack of all trades, and the game heavily emphasizes rewarding the specialists because this is like the first Final Fantasy where you're actually tagging people in and out in the middle of combat, and it plays with that where it's like, oh, you're gonna run into enemies that you just have to deal magic damage, bring out Lulu. Oh, you're running into flying enemies, time for Waka to shine. There's this very clear setup where every character has a moment that they are an answer to a specific problem, and you can be stubborn. You can just be like, no, I have my favorite three, and that's all I'm using. And that's absolutely the way I played it the first time around when I was younger. And going back later and being like, oh, I see what a moron I was. And the majesty of actually like using everyone and how it does make the whole party feel relevant and have a place and not just like, cool, I recruited you and I'm going back to my original party of like the first three characters. Like, no, no, no. There's you can still use them as your main, but now you actually have like a reason to tag people in and out, and even the option to that I just really liked. And then they completely abandoned that for every game moving forward. Then we started doing very different combat systems right after, and I like the 7 remake and rebirth approach. Like that's a nice like midpoint. I can't say I've loved the combat in any of the ones after. Like I like them. It's not like I hate them, but what?
You
What?
didn't like you don't like the paradigm system in 13?
I think the paradigm system is very fun for bosses. I think it made regular encounters a chore and boring.
Wow.
Boss fights were the cool thing in 13 to me. I hated grinding and doing regular combat in 13.
Wow.
I also think
Uh,
making main character death cause game over was a very weird, bizarre, dumb move for that title.
yeah. 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 No, that is a 100% fair criticism about 13.
Yeah,
But I do love the paradigm system a lot. I loved the because there are certain I with the boss fights it does make it better, of course, right? But I really did we don't have to go too deep into it, but I really did love the system with changing the different paradigms, and like that's how it allowed like everyone to do like obviously there's certain characters that were kind of meant for certain roles, but
sure,
it allowed everyone to do everything,
a
and I
little
thought
bit, yeah,
that was very cool. So but I do want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, because that is some damn good some damn good gameplay. That is
yeah,
some damn good combat system. I um I really loved how it was this kind of mixture of the original 7, a bit of Kingdom Hearts, a bit of Final Fantasy 13 all mixed together. And how just the I don't know. I love the command bar. I just think the command bar is just like such a great thing that was introduced with Kingdom Hearts, and how they were able to implement that into uh to remake, and then they've just been able to kind of I do feel like a lot of it is it's like to me it's like a slower Kingdom Hearts, and then it has like the ability to switch through the different characters. You still have like this level of strategy
yeah,
to it. um and then they introduced the synergy abilities, which feels like the the kind of like team up attacks from Kingdom Hearts, but its own thing, right?
sure,
um it pushes all the buttons of like what I want in Kingdom Hearts, um but in Final Fantasy, and it's great. I love it, and I think that's the thing that is a bit weird is that like I do think that like the kind of systems with like it's not directly combat, but the materia systems and things like that. I actually think that was better done in Remake versus Rebirth.
hmm,
Um, but it's hard to ignore the quality of life updates that they did in the just minute to minute combat of Rebirth. Of like, oh yeah, aerial combat kind of sucked in Remake, so we're gonna give Cloud like a a blade attack that works as a
yeah,
an
as
aerial,
arranged, yeah,
yeah, as a ranged attack.
yeah,
um and yeah, just using the different synergy abilities, and also just them implementing the idea of different party members around at all times. It really allowed things in the combat systems that you don't that in most JRPGs, once you settled on like, okay, this is my party, this is who I'm going to use, it put you in positions where you had to like you got to use everything, and everything felt purposeful and meaningful.
yeah.
which I give them major props to, because like really at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you're just using other characters you wouldn't normally use, but you have the same combat system that you know and love. And so I mean, I think Rebirth is outside of Kingdom Hearts 2, it's my favorite like action RPG combat system
Yeah. And
for
I
sure.
yeah, and I think like that's something I really love about both those games as well. And I think Rebirth does dial it in just like the right ways for the most part. Um, is that like, look, I there are a lot of games that I certainly like more from a raw action perspective, like if I'm just worried about action
Yeah.
gameplay. But in terms of being what feels like the most true hybrid to me of like RPG elements and things I love about older RPGs and turn-based ones, and apply that to a real-time combat system, it's just such a well done hybrid that I don't think any other game has dialed in just right yet. Like even with like Kingdom Hearts, right? Like Kingdom Hearts leans a little bit more in the action direction. Whereas like there's still RPG aspects that are important. There's elemental weaknesses. There are, bars are filling up and special attacks to pull off and that kind of thing. But the way that there's that level of like even the way they implement the stagger system, right? Like I think stagger in 13 and
Yes.
in 16 are a little boring because it's mostly just like fill this bar up by using this kind of attack until you're done. Whereas 7 Remake and Rebirth are like, oh, enemies have specific conditions. Some are as simple as hit them with a certain element and you're good. Others are like, wait for it to do this attack and attack them at that moment. Or
13 also
prioritize.
had that.
It did, but it was like it did not work out quite the same way. Like to me it was just a bonus to like filling the bar in 13 that like it didn't feel nearly as satisfying as in 7 Remake and Rebirth.
I will admit that it didn't feel as satisfying, and I also feel like part of that is because because 13 was turn based,
Yeah.
and like so it it feels good that like, oh, you stagger and you're doing the thing, but with like something like Rebirth or Remake, it's like, oh, time to limit break, like time to like do something
Yeah.
big.
Right.
Um Instead of like, oh, I'm just dealing a lot more damage now.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, but there are some bosses where like if you aren't doing the right thing to get that stagger bar up, that stagger bar is not moving.
Yeah.
And you will
For
die.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. But like even like regular enemies, that's a thing in Rebirth, right? Like it's not like a
Yeah,
boss specific like that's adding an extra interesting layer to a boss thing, which is appreciated. But like it's more ever present in Rebirth and Remake. Uh,
sure.
One specific thing I know I've seen some people be mad about, and this is normally coming more from like an action game background, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. Uh, how do you feel about the dodge in Rebirth and Remake? Because there are a lot of people I know who hate it because, in their words, it quote does nothing, which is not true. But it's because people, I think, like built this. Like enough games did it to where there's this assumption that dodge means invulnerability frames, and that is not the case in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, no.
No, dodge is you get out of an area a little quicker if you time it right. It is not an invulnerability frames like thing. You are much better off blocking than you are hoping for that to work.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't use the dodge very much. I really only used it when it felt necessary. Like for example, and this is actually one of my few like criticisms with combat and Rebirth and stuff like that. But like, there's the fucking dune worms.
Mm,
It that can literally eat you, and like you are no longer on the field. I feel like that I would dodge, and I'm like not in the zone of like that enemy's mouth, and it's like, nope, you were actually eaten. It's like,
yeah, no,
what?
that specific enemy that was a problem. That I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Like
So it
that.
felt like the only way you could get out of that is if you used Yuffie and you did like the substitution or whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. To just get out of the way completely. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that, but like also when you get to those like simulation fights, and you really get to see like how those systems shine and like how you bounce off of you're continuously switching characters and be like, all right, I gotta do this, and then I gotta do this, all right, I gotta go over here now, oh, I gotta heal this, like it's so good.
Yeah.
You get into this like flow state,
No,
and then like when something bad happens out of nowhere, it feels like that flow state is broken and you're literally like on your back foot. Like it I don't know of in an action RPG, that is like a rare thing for me. Like where you're in this mindset where you feel like that everything's like linking, your brain is like just buzzing,
yeah.
and then like one wrong thing makes you mentally feel like you've been like you've tripped, right? Or you've gotten pushed back, and you're like, oh man, I gotta like figure out how to recalibrate my brain and get back into this flow state. And it feels really good. Like it's fun when you know you have a good combat system when you're still feeling good, like you're still having fun when you're losing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're like not in the ideal position, because the systems are just so good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's actually something I really appreciate about Remake and Rebirth is that like not that the mainline stuff is like easy, but they're like, hey, look, we're going to give you this level of difficulty through the main story, and then if you're a real combat sicko and like want to go all in on using all of these systems and doing this all right, here's these challenge missions and the simulator battles and that kind of stuff to really flex that. Like the fact that like I still absolutely love that the gimmick for the Odin fight is like be good, because if you he'll get bored and then it's over.
Yeah.
That's just how that works. He will fight you as long as you're playing good enough to keep him entertained. Like such a fun concept.
You know, it's great. And I remember the first time I I love when games present a boss where you or just present a challenge where you already enjoy the systems, you already enjoy the combat, and then you just get approached by something where you're just like, this is impossible. It's like it has nothing to do with level, it has nothing to do with like all has to do with just you knowing how these systems work.
Yeah.
And making it work for you. And the Odin fight was great. And then when you have to fight Odin with another summon at the same time, that was when I was just like,
y'all.
Oh, oh, how am I going to do this? Is this possible? Because I think it was Alexander. I think it was Alexander maybe that you fought in the with him. But yeah, it was like it was wild. And so I love the system in that game, and I'm curious as to how that is going to evolve again in
Whatever
part
they call
3.
3, yeah.
Still money on Requiem.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Reunion's
like
the really popular assumption, but like there's
Well, we already got Reunion.
Yeah. I mean we didn't. Like it's not that exact title.
It would be dumb if it was Reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you got? What do you got?
Oh geez. I don't want to harp too much on the stuff we talked about back in like the unique battle systems one, but it's also the unique battle systems that tend to like stay in your brain a little longer, you know? Like part of why I brought up 10 is because I was like, I feel like 10 is not necessarily the flashiest, but it's such a nice like just an example of how to do the old ways well. But if we're gonna talk systems that I loved, I got to talk about original DS version of World Ends With You, because that shit rewired my brain, and it is a combat system I know is not for everyone. Like,
so I want to say quickly, because I meant to mention this at the beginning of last week's episode.
Uh-oh.
That is a game that we should have mentioned that should be on the top 25 JRPG list.
Oh yeah, probably. That's up there.
Like that is a perfect number 25, because I'm not crazy about the battle system. Like I think that it's like I think it's definitely unique. I definitely think that it's a great system that like represents the platform that it came out on, and I think the story is very good. Um, and it's like, again, it's like it's not a top 25 JRPG for me, but I think that like if we were talking about something like that, I think that it would have to be in the conversation.
Oh, it's
Um,
absolutely in the conversation. That's like
so anyway, go ahead.
for your consideration is absolutely like I think the level of like we should at least talk about this. But yeah, no, it's really good. So for anyone that hasn't heard me rant about this game in the past, World Ends With You it was originally released for the DS, and it got a re-release later for mobile and then Switch. That like, if you want to know the story, it's fine, but it heavily butchered the combat system because the combat system was built for the DS. Like it's not something that really works in a different physical format. And the way it would work is that on the bottom screen, you'd have your main character, Neku, and you would use the touch screen with a stylus to control him. You'd have different abilities to slot and equip, and the abilities would have their own ways of like how you would control them to use them. You know, drag it around to have a fire trail that deals damage, or swipe on the screen to do like a slash attack, whatever. You'd have all kinds of different abilities that you would equip and use for that. Meanwhile, you'd have a partner character, which there were 3 different ones depending on where you were in the game on the top screen that you'd have to control in their own combat. And they would have an entirely different control scheme based around using the D-pad. And even like how their combat worked varied from each partner. They'd have their own little kind of like sub mini game that you'd have to learn and master to like use them well. And so you're effectively doing 2 different combat systems at the same time across 2 separate screens. And it was very overwhelming when you first started it up. And again, I totally understand it just not being for some people. Like, I get it. Like, if you bounce off of it, totally understand. But if you were the right person where it just like clicked in your brain and you got into it and you wanted to do like the later game challenges and stuff, oh my God. That thing was just like, if you love brain go burr. Yeah, like if you love there's an ADHD thing going on here where you just need all the different lights happening at the same time and you just need to be as engaged as possible. Like this is the combat system for that. Like you just needed to be able to hone in on these 2 different systems and be on top of it, and it was so much fun. I love it. And like that's kind of the headache of it too, is that you can't really do it again. Like the sequel they did, Neo World Ends With You, fantastic. Also great combat, much better than the remasters or re-releases of the first game, because they were purpose built for, you know, not having that system to work with. And I really enjoyed the games, and I think overall they're like an improvement on the original in some important ways. But as far as just like really zoning in and honing on the combat, it's just there's something about that original DS version of the first one that just is lost to time. Like you got to get a DS and you got to get the cart and you got to do it yourself that way. There's just no other, like, because you can't even really like properly emulate that, like not the same way at least. Like
No.
I'm sure there's some BS way of doing it with like a PC handheld that has a touch interface and mostly works out, but it's just not. It's not the same. Like you have to be doing that on original hardware to just get the right vibe with it, which both sucks for anyone that missed out on it, because I'm sure prices for those have only gotten worse and worse. But damn.
Looks like you can buy a new copy of the DS as cheap as $70 on eBay, which is not that bad compared to a lot of other stuff.
And that's like sealed, not just complete. That's like never been opened.
That is sealed, yeah.
Okay, that's not bad at all then. Like you still have to buy a DS, which that's its own thing too, but like
or yeah, if you have a 3DS, you're good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, World Ends With You is like one of the definitive DS games. And probably that is probably the definitive like JRPG for that system.
In terms of like you can't do this anywhere else, absolutely. Like
yeah. 100%. Trying to think of something that isn't Kingdom Hearts.
How are you feeling on, because I feel like I've been hearing this a lot lately from people, and I haven't rested on my conclusion yet, and you probably haven't either because you're still in the middle of it, but like where are you feeling on Expedition 33's combat system? Because I will say for me, I personally I am a part of like the parry hater crowd. Not that I hate parries in general, but like I think it's a very overused mechanic and I don't necessarily love it in Expedition 33. Like it does feel great when you pull it off, but I also wish it wasn't quite as central to it. That said, I also very much love how like every character is their own little unique like mini game flow using their abilities. Like that's a thing that really gets my brain going, and I'm really into that about 33. You know, whether that's figuring out the taint system with Lune or the right stance flow with Mael. CL's is a little more straightforward because it's like CL's like sounds the most complex, and then in practice it's actually very simple, especially with the right weapon pick. Um, but like I love that like every character kind of has their like it really helps I think make each one stand out that much more uniquely, aside from just like what their move sets are.
Yeah, I think that the like the specific mechanics of each character are still pretty like hit and miss. Like I think Verso's is kind of lame, right? The perfection, like the ranks, like the ranking type
Yeah.
system. It's like, okay, like this feels like you just didn't really know what else to do, and so you just kind of gave him this. Um, like Males is cool. I think it's cool on paper. I think that as someone who like normally like sets up like, oh, I'm gonna spark defensive stance, like you know, that type of thing. I'm still like getting hit really hard when I use her, and it's just like, okay, well, if I'm being put in a defensive stance and I'm like also like again going back to the attribute stuff, like I've put a good amount of points into her defense and I'm still getting like kind of mollywopped, it kind of like defeats the purpose
Interesting.
for me a bit.
Yeah. Like
Um
honestly, for my L, other than virtuous stance, I never really paid that much attention to like the bonuses of those stances. I was much more interested in like what abilities get bonuses when used in those stances, and then like learning the flow that way of what abilities I want to use in what order to like capitalize on that. Like the defense bonus and the attack bonus and offensive stance, like sure, those are great, and like you want to really hit him heavy with the right move in virtuous stance because that's your real like big damage dealer.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but like
100%.
but like the flow of like, oh, this move applies more burn stacks if used while in defensive stance. This move does this while in this stance. Like that's the stuff that I really dug with my L.
Yeah, and see I never really like looked into that much because normally when I would do cuz I mean for the longest time it was I was using Lune and Mael, and so like I would start Lune with immolation and like boom fire stacks, and
Yeah.
then spark boom even more fire stacks. So I really didn't the bonuses didn't really like in that sense didn't really matter to me. Um and so yeah, I think the general combat system of it is fine. I I don't think the parry's very good in this game. I feel like that's an unpopular opinion,
It's
and it's like I know it's not fair to directly compare it to Sekiro because it's a different type of game. It's
yeah.
different, completely different type of approach. I just feel like it. I just feel as someone who again takes pride in like being good at parrying. I don't think I feel like I miss a lot of parries that I shouldn't be missing.
What's really funny, and I just don't know if this is like a how different people's brains are wired kind of situation. I have such an easier time parrying in this game than in Sekiro. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, like I parry all
Oh,
fucking day in Action 33, and Sekiro takes me a lot more focus and practice. And I don't know if it's because with Expedition 33, there's a little bit more safety in the repetition, where it's like the only thing that matters is the parry, right? There's no positioning, there's no like there's nothing else going on. It's not real time. You're just watching the animation play out. But like I definitely tapped into that like way easier for me.
and see, for me, I think I'm better at Sekiro because Sekiro was better about giving visual cues than Expedition 33
And
does.
see, this is another thing where it's like, and again, how brains are wired. I don't know. The cue is the sword is about to hit you. Like I don't like
But
I
it's not
see.
always just a sword, though.
Yeah,
It's not
sure.
always a sword.
Yeah, but like there's usually like there's an audio cue, there's like and like I totally
They're
understand.
not good,
I
but
told
they're not
Oh, the
good
audio
cues.
cues are great. What are you talking about? The
They're
audio
not.
cues are
They're
so good.
not.
Turn your volume up, man. Turn your volume up. I don't know. Like it is just as rhythm focused. Like the only like I totally understand the first time seeing a move not knowing what to do. 100% because there's lots of weird fake outs and lots of like whatever. Like yes, the first time you see a move, absolutely there's going to be stuff that throws you off. Second or third time, downloaded. Like just like
Yeah, no, no.
it's such a safe repetitious rhythm. Like
Yeah, no. I like um the there was like this one enemy that I fought last night that like it's like the swordstress chick that goes berserk, and so like they have like the short combo or the long combo.
yeah.
Like weirdly enough, long combo hardly any issues. Short combo, because that first one, she's just standing there for so fucking long. And again, no good, there's not a good audio cue on that move. And I like, I try and predict it, and I still, like, my result may vary. Like, sometimes I would get it, sometimes I wouldn't. And I was just like, yeah, I do not, like, again, it's one of those things, like, it's a different game, but also, like, the things that I'm criticizing about Expedition 33 can apply to Sekiro. Like I think that like the visual cues and the visual like movements could be a lot clearer in Expedition 33. And then again, when you get to certain boss fights where it's not a particularly a weapon.
Yeah.
It's like some big like especially when there's so like like there's this boss fight that I just did where there's so much on the screen, and then they're trying to do like this sort of sweeping attack, and the camera's very stretched out, like like none of that is set up for success on figuring out when to pair the parry timing for that is.
Mhm.
Like granted, like I figured it out, but it's still one of those things where like like I don't think being like, oh, you have to basically experience the pain be to figure out the success when it comes to a parry as good design. I don't think that's good design.
Ah,
With like
I
Sekiro, it's
like
like
it.
you can be approached with something and be like, oh, like I can learn the parry, because at the very least you can still block, right? That's the thing that like that kind of different, like definitely differentiates the two games. But like you can figure out those ways in real time in
Yeah.
a way that you can't in Expedition 33, where it's like
Well, you can.
there was a
Everyone just
point.
ignores it.
There was a point last night where I was just like, I feel like that there's certain fights in this game where I should literally just do nothing and die just to see what these moves do.
Oh, but like that's what the dodge is
And like,
for. The dodge window is so huge compared to parry. Like that's the thing. Like, and I understand it because I'm the same way and I made the same mistake. But like, there's a whole built-in mechanic for safely learning the parry window, and no one uses it because we're stubborn and just want to parry from the outset. And I have seen some people talk about how they did dodge only gameplay because they just didn't trust themselves to parry, and they still had a great time.
yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair, but it also like doesn't deny the fact that the parrying in the game is not great. Like it's not bad, but
Yeah.
it's not
I,
great.
I don't think I agree. And here's the thing. Again, I don't care about parry as an overall mechanic. But saying that it's bad in EX33 is weird to me, or that it's just not good. Like it just didn't. I did not have the same experience with it that you are having. I think.
I know. Again, we're opposite minded here. Where
Yeah.
you're like the stuff you're saying about Sekiro, I'm like, no, I did not have that experience. But and that's totally valid. I just feel like Expedition 33 is like the latest game where it's like heresy to
Oh,
say like
sure.
anything bad about it,
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah. And again, like I how annoying I was about Expedition 33 leading up to launch,
Oh,
like.
yeah.
And I'm just like, dang, I don't know if I like this game very much, and that sucks.
I'm so excited for us to do a spoiler cast on it eventually. Oh, but I'm very curious where you're gonna land on like the storytelling stuff because yeah, it's a whole thing. Um. Anyway, so that was kind of a side diversion because yeah, I don't know how
Oh, no,
like
that's fine.
I'm still digesting this. Like I don't know where I'm gonna land on it being like one of my favorites of all time or not. But there is definitely there are things the game does that I really like that I want to see them further experiment with in like future titles. Certainly.
I was gonna say, like, do you think that's in the conversation for you in general? Like a top 25 JRPG for you?
Oh geez. Like I always hate doing that with something that like it still feels
Just
too
came out.
recent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's so easy to say that and then when you actually put me down with like a pencil and paper and I list out all the games that I would consider for 25, it's like wait, shit,
It's
actually. Like cuz it is freshest in my
yeah.
mind. It's so fresh in my mind right now, right? Like the recency bias is very real. um
Yeah.
like I feel like I would definitely put it on my list of things that I need to like sort through how
Sure.
safely it makes it into 25. Like I don't think I would I'm not let me put it this way. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 or top 10, I think.
Oh,
But
I
in
would think you are
yeah.
a madman
I
if you
would
said
yeah.
that to
Yeah, well, I
me.
mean,
Like,
we know some. I mean, we in our own server, like I think someone was saying that it's like possibly one of their favorite games of all time now. Like it, and like I like not to like begrudge that. Like I do think it's a great game. I also think it absolutely has some specific choices and moves that either makes it very much for someone or very much not for them, which I think is more interesting than just general praise.
mm,
Uh, but I think for me, yeah, it's like I think it's in the conversation. I don't think I would put it super high up, but I think in that somewhere in that sea of 25 to 11, like I don't know, maybe I do really like it. I really like it a lot.
again, there are things I like about that game. But
I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure by the end of this, I'm going to be a much bigger fan of this game than you are, than you will be.
Oh, I think that's yeah. I think that can already be solidified.
Yeah,
I would. I do not think that there's anything that this game can do where I'm just like, this is a great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
yeah. No, I'm very curious how like. Again, I don't think it's going to completely change your opinion, but I'm very curious if the story is eventually going to be like, okay, like I like that better, or if it's just going to really push you on the opposite direction of like, what do people see in
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's like I'm not that at that point yet
No,
where
I
I'm just
know,
like
yeah, but I'm curious how it's going to push
y'all are
you.
playing a different version of this game than I am. You must be. Um,
I think that's part of
but
why I really enjoy like this game being out. Like outside of the really dumb takes of like this is what JRPGs should be or like JRPGs are good again, whatever. Like that stuff's stupid. But like I love a game that you can have like good controversial conversations about. Like it's boring when it's like, yeah, man, the latest third person Spider-Man action game, like yeah, it was good overall. What am I going to say? Like it's good.
yeah,
Great. Like that doesn't interest me. I think Expedition 33 is so much more ripe for interesting conversations about like what good is. Like what do you like what does this mean? Like why do you like a thing?
mm, mm. Yeah. We didn't. I didn't make the mean to change
Yeah.
the topic to
Oh,
the
you're good.
Expedition 33 show,
Again,
but
yeah, yeah.
no,
I did interrupt. I think you had another game in mind for like combat system, right?
I was thinking, and then you brought up Expedition 33, and then I stopped thinking about it. So and then we started talking about Expedition
Yeah. Because
33.
yeah, well, and
Um,
again, because I think I've seen a lot of people like really push that as being like, oh, this is good. This is like what combat should be, and I'm like, yeah, there's things I like.
so
I don't know if I'm on board with all of it, but
yeah. So one thing, so I don't have a specific game to talk about, but I do want to talk about a specific franchise, and I want to talk about like the evolution of the combat
sure.
in the series and how you feel about it as it's progressed. And that series is Pokemon.
Mm.
Um, as I kind of talked about before on this podcast, I will always love Pokemon. I will always have a love and loyalty to Pokemon. Literally, my tattoo I didn't show off yet, and it's peeling, so it's not going to look super great. But it is literally the final time that you fight against Silver in Pokemon Crystal. Um, and it's dude, it's peeling like crazy, dog. But yeah, go to my socials at Can't Final Mix on Instagram specifically if you want to take a look at the tattoo like right when I got done. I'm really happy with it. um but yeah, Pokemon Crystal is my second favorite game of all time. I don't think I don't think that will change by the time I'm 6 feet under. Um, but and after Hoenn, after Gen 3, I think that my just Pokemon just has kind of been different for me.
Sure.
I wasn't crazy about the Sinnoh games, which I know that is it's I'm not saying that they're bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about them
Sure.
comparatively to the first 3 generations. And then like Unova, like very complicated, like probably the worst compilation of Pokemon for a generation, but
There's so
some
many other
really
things right.
good. Yeah, so many other things right.
Yeah.
And then with 6th gen, they introduced Mega Evolutions. And I initially thought, this is awesome, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. And then by the time of the end of 6th gen, I was like, that was fucking stupid. I don't like this. I don't like how limited it was. And then Gen 7, they introduced Z moves. I'm like, okay, I like this a lot more because any Pokemon can have a Z move. Anyone can use Z moves, and it makes it more, across the board.
Sure.
Um, and then they introduced the Gigantamaxing or whatever. And
Yep.
then they introduced now they introduced the Terrastalize
Yep.
mechanic, and it's just like one of those things where I know that they're introducing these mechanics more so for like the competitive play of Pokemon and like things like that, but it's just kind of really sad to see. Like it's just like not what I want from Pokemon, and
Sure.
but I also know that this is how Pokemon's always going to be from now on, and I just have a complicated relationship with it, and I kind of wanted to get your opinion on how you feel about these mechanics.
Sure. So I think it's important to establish context real quick of like my relationship with Pokemon and how I play them.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like I've never really cared about like competitive Pokemon. There's a whole
No.
other brain space there, and it's just a different conversation at the end of the day. Like I think there's talking about Pokemon as a single player RPG with a trade element, and there's talking about Pokemon as I'm getting into like battles with other players, and that's what my focus is. Those are very different games, very different experiences, and I think it also impacts how you feel about certain decisions and directions because it plays out differently in those spaces. So coming from someone who primarily treats it as like a single player RPG with a story I'm getting through and then some late game challenges potentially. I mean, for one thing, basically ever since Gen 6, most sense of difficulty has like been thrown out the window, right? I think once Gen 6 made it so easy for grinding levels on your whole party, and also just generally the pacing of leveling versus like enemy challenges. I mean, the amount you need to do to like outpace the gyms in Gen 6 in particular is hilarious. Like you can't not overlevel unless you really just like beeline from place to place. So like that, harmed it for me. And then also, as you brought up, right, like starting at Gen 6, we've had this whole thing of like each game has its own unique mechanic introduced. And personally, I kind of hate it. One thing, I actually like I like Megaforms. That's actually still my favorite of the group. I think it's like, yeah, it's a headache that it only applies to certain specific Pokemon, but you're also doing it only once per battle. So it's like, okay, there's like one Pokemon you have in mind as like your mega go-to, and that's it. Like the rest of the party, you still have the freedom to build the way you want. And Z moves didn't bother me as much because it was a pretty significant shift, right? You go from a specific Pokemon attains a special form that lasts for a time, and then you go to like, oh, this is just a really cool single special move I can use one time as like a trump card. Cool. Then we get to Gigantamax. And yes, there are differences. But also Gigantamax is you activate a special form for one of your Pokemon that then gets stronger for a period of time and does cool things. It's not the exact same as Mega, but it's not really that different.
Yeah, it might as well be.
It might as well be, yeah. And then Terrestrialize is pretty different because it plays with like, elemental typings and stuff, but then it also has by far the most boring presentation and implementation out of all of them. Because it's like, yeah, being able to remix elements at the last second, like that's a cool, like, ha, gotcha, surprise. You thought this Pokemon would be weak, but now because of terrestrializing like that's like a cool thing in concept. But man, is it just like cool? They get a shiny hat, and like it's just another form mechanic that has a cooler spin on it mechanically, but I did not care for the implementation. It's very frustrating how many things in Pokemon. Like, I realize part of the point is that Pokemon is always trying to introduce new things, and they always need to make something stand apart. But man, does it make it a bit of a disorganized mess after so many games. Like, even when it comes to things like evolutions, right? We haven't gotten a new EV form since Gen 6, but there's already so many different mechanics you have to be aware of for the different forms you want. Oh, well, this uses the friendship mechanic to get for the fairy form, but that's a different friendship mechanic than the happiness mechanic that you're using for getting Espeon or Umbreon. Or you can just use stones, or never mind, not actually evolution stones, but being nearby this type of stone on the world map will cause them to evolve into, like, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like there's been a lot, like I think it's been in my brain for a long time, and I thought it was going to happen with the Switch shift, and it didn't. Was let's just like minor reboot this, guys. Like let's just like let's reapproach how certain evolution mechanics work, how certain combat mechanics work, and like have a fresh start a little bit where there's a little bit more consistency across the board, because it just gets so weird to play a later stage game and then have to deal with like how certain mechanics now have to be adapted and play out however many gens later, Having Pokemon that evolve by turning the DS upside down. That was a really neat, fun idea on the DS. What are we doing moving forward? And so, like, yeah, Pokemon is always frustrating me in that, like, if we're talking about it, especially from a combat standpoint, I've never thought combat from a single player perspective has ever really been that interesting, You're going up against a gym leader that has a favorite type, hit it. And sometimes they do smart things with that, where they have a Pokemon that surprises you with what its moveset is, or maybe it's a specific dual type that like throws that plan in disarray. But that's also kind of a one-trick pony of like, okay, cool, that's annoying, but now I just know what counter pick I have to include in preparation for that. Yeah, like I can't speak to it from like a competitive scene approach, but as someone who just treats these as single player games, I wish there was some greater sense of consistency across them all at this point, and like it just kind of is what it is. It's a series of headaches for me.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying about the soft reboot thing. I feel like that they kind of did that with Gen 6 when they introduced like the fairy type and things like that. But I get what you're saying. I don't think that they need to do. I wouldn't go as far to say as that they need to do like this hard reset. But I also think that they like should just learn the lessons from the past 9 generations and be like, hey, let's not create a unique item to evolve one particular Pokemon. Like, let's not do that. Because like in Gen 4, you needed like the whatever to get Magnezone, and then like whatever to get Mortar, and like let's not do that anymore. Because initially like it was kind of cool, right? Like when we were growing up, like you're like, oh, you need King's Rock to get Poliwhirl to evolve into Politoed, and like.
And it was also kind of an in-world explanation for why you couldn't do it before, right? It's like, oh, well, you could never get Polyking because you didn't have King's Rocks in those previous places. Like now you're somewhere where that exists, so you can do that. But then again, how do you handle this for 4 gens moving forward or whatever?
Yeah, as it evolves, here's the thing: I will give them credit that like since Sword and Shield, they have made a lot of that stuff a lot more accessible, like getting those things that you need to like make those things happen. But I get what you're saying when it comes to like those particular aspects of Pokemon for sure. And so yeah, I do the Pokemon, the general Pokemon aspects of the combat, the straightforward like back and forth, like that's always going to be fun to me. But just like the additional stuff that they're adding, it's like we don't need this. Like I don't like this. Let's just stop. But they can't because competitive. So
Yeah, I'd be interested. That actually might be like a fun topic in the future with someone who is of that brain space a little bit more, because I'd be very interested in hearing like an informed opinion on, how each of those mechanics shaped that space,
mhm.
like in the meta, and like what actually was kind of well received or thought was cool, and what was just kind of like, why? Why does this work like this? Because I'm sure there's stuff where we're like, oh yeah, they did this to like try to keep the meta interesting, but like, did it? I don't know because I never got into it that way.
Yeah. Did you want to go through one more, or did you want to wrap things up here?
I feel like I've talked about like the main peak ones for me. I mean, there's plenty of games that I can talk about that I've enjoyed combat of. Specific Tales games that I think figured out their action RPG formula just the right way, or other turn-based games. I mean, God, tactics is a whole other thing. Getting into just like what
Oh yeah,
tactical
for
stuff I've
sure.
really enjoyed and what made for like good, fun combat. But for the ones that are like I think stand out to in my brain immediately, those are definitely like the biggest ones for me.
Yeah, going to Tales, not digging into the weeds, but I do think that like Arise and like how they introduced like I think they introduced like the team up attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like those finishers and
Arise
things
was
like
a
that.
really
I
nice.
thought was really cool.
Yeah, Arise was a very nice breath of fresh air. Honestly, I think the most significant one from a combat evolution standpoint, like even though Arise like made a more significant change with like how the camera feels and how like the flow of combat and such, uh, Tales of Innocence or not Innocence, Tales of Graces was
Yeah.
the first game that shifted away from using MP, because MP in Tales games kind of just got to be annoying because it was like, yeah, I'm just trying to do my cool special moves all the time. Why am I just like burning through and then I'm not allowed to do it anymore? So Graces was the first one where they were like, okay, never mind. There's no MP anymore. There's a limitation on how you can spam these moves, and like you can't just infinite combo them. But like now it's more about you have all these cool special moves, build the combos you want to build, and there's limitations to like how long the combo strings can be. And that really revitalized the combat in those games. Like I don't really care about Grace's plot very much, and there's things Grace's does in general that I'm not too big on, but the combat specifically, massively important game in the series. Like that really, I think, helped tune the combat moving forward for a lot of people like first experiencing it.
uh, Dope. I need to play more Tales games. um, yeah, I'll talk about Kingdom Hearts really quick. I'll just talk about
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts.
no, get it out
Let's
there.
just
Get
do
it
it.
out
Let's
there.
just do
Get
it.
it
Let's
out there.
do it. I'm not gonna talk about Kingdom Hearts 1 very much. Because that game does not, that game's definitely shown its age. But I think just as a series, the way it's been able to evolve its combat and like because of like the different platforms and how it's been able to work. Like I'm one of the weirdos that thinks the card system in Chain of Memories is awesome. I love it.
On the GBA,
Um,
yes.
yes, on the GBA specifically. On the GBA, I love it so much. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 is just like for me, it's a perfect battle system. No notes, like genuinely perfect in my eyes. The drive system and like how that evolves throughout the game, like it starts off very simple and then like once you get like certain abilities that like make it so that like you can kind of use your forms a bit more often, um it it really balances the fine line of like making Sora feel more powerful over the game, but not feeling like that it's like busted. And there's definitely ways that like once you get to certain points in the game, or like further on in the game, and like especially like post game, you can definitely find ways to like abuse that, but in good ways, like in like satisfying ways, like in ways that feel like this was the point, like this was designed with intention, which I really really love. Uh, and because like it is one of the few games where I think that playing that game, like I think you should play the game first time on normal or proud, however you prefer, like, but once you like understand the systems, playing that game on critical is the way to play that game. Like playing that game on the hardest difficulty is where you like really get to see how perfect that system is. And I wish I wish that they just took more of that and put it in Kingdom Hearts 3, man. They had the blueprint. They had it. It was perfect. And then they just didn't do it with 3. But you know, even with games like Birth by Sleep, right? Like Birth by Sleep introduced the shot lock, which was very cool, and the not like forms. I forgot what they're called though. Oh man.
It's like their new approach. Yeah, it's those characters' approach to like. Yeah, it's like, what is it? Is it not forms? Is it
No, I don't
drives?
think
It's not
so.
drives. It's
No. Man, I forgot what it's called. But
command style.
command style. Thank you. You have these different command styles depending on like what abilities in your deck that you use, and then there's the whole deck system, which is really cool. Because the thing that I like about Kingdom Hearts combat in particular is that it feels very anime in like the things that you do, and they make it feel like it's like it's you doing it. It
Right.
feels like a natural thing that like, you know, and you don't really get that from like a lot of other games. A lot of other games is like, yeah, we're swinging our sword fast and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like, no, you're doing dope things that just happen to be a part of the combos. And like, I'm surprised that more AAA games hasn't just done that with, you know,
Yeah.
looking at Kingdom Hearts.
I
Uh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
That's always been a question for me with like, because that was even a thing with Dissidia. Like the PSP Dissidias did such a good job of capturing that kind of feeling of like this is like quote anime style combat of like all the combos and clashes you're doing in midair and being able to send someone flying into a wall, like such good feeling stuff. And then they didn't really do that for Dissidia NT, and then that franchise kind of just died. Like I just don't
Yeah.
like just do that one again. Like that one was so good. Why did we? Damn it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Kingdom Hearts does what anime fighters don't do, like a Naruto Ninja Storm, where like it's just like, oh, you press a specific button and then he does a Rasengan. Like it's like, no, you do like these sick ass combos, and that is all part of the general basic gameplay. Um and yeah, and so like they, you know, they do that like really throughout the series, but 2 is where I think it shines the best. And yeah, the deck system's really cool, and they implemented that in coded. You know, 350, 358, they tried some things, didn't particularly like work,
That was
but
yeah,
they
that was a
tried some
game.
things.
That was a game.
Um, with an incredible story, incredible story. Uh, and yeah, and then like Dream Drop, like while it was unbalanced, for sure, the flow motion was very fun, very cool. Added a new flavor to the combat, and yeah, it's just like just the amount of variety that like of gameplay that's in Kingdom Hearts is pretty much unheard of, pretty much uncomparable. Um Dante and Devil May Cry 5 is like the closest example of like, oh yeah, maybe this is beaten that. Maybe it has beaten that. But there's just so much variety and like in everything that you can do, especially in Kingdom Hearts 2, that it's just chef's kiss. I think that again, it's one of those things where like I think that, you know, there are things to poke fun at about Kingdom Hearts, but I also feel like that there's poking fun at, and then there's like not like people not giving that franchise the credit it is due for the things that it has done
Mhm.
because of those things that they poke fun at. And it's just like, no, that doesn't like cancel out, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, shout out to Kingdom Hearts. Well,
I think we did it.
yeah, we did it. That is our show for this week. We got one more show before we're off to SGF, and Kevin is going to go in his lair for Switch 2 content. And we'll never see him again. No, I'm joking.
Possibly.
You can follow me on all socials at Cam Final Mix. You can follow Kevin at Kevin Kenson. Kevin, is there anything that you want to say before we hop out?
Not today.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for listening this week. And until next time, We'll catch you later.
Later.